What is going on, guys? I hope you're having a great day. So I've been wanting to make this video for a while now, but I've never really got around to it. So I thought, you know what, set the camera up, just me, you, and yeah, no fancy edits or anything, just me talking, like explaining pretty much how I got to where I am today. So, you know, from someone that was super insecure, I had really bad anxiety, to overcoming all of that, and now like I feel like I have a purpose with what I do. I love it, and I'm just happy and grateful to wake up every day. So how I got here, you know, born in Cairns, a super small town in Australia, 140,000 people. Making the move from there to Melbourne at about grade 3, such a big change because, you know, Melbourne's such a big city and Cairns is so small, but it was great. I love Melbourne. My parents raised me perfectly. Like, I couldn't have asked for a better upbringing. Everything they did was perfect. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward, my childhood, nothing too dramatic. The most, dramatic thing or things in my childhood, I guess, were when my mum got diagnosed with cancer. I remember when my dad sat me down and broke that news to me. That was sort of the first time I really like was like shocked. Like, it just, you know, the first obstacle in your life, I feel like that was mine, and it was difficult. You know, especially being like, I think I was like 14, 13, 14. So it was tough. And then a year after that, my dad actually got diagnosed with cancer as well. So, you know, having both parents with cancer at the same time was super stressful at such a young age. So that sort of rocked me a bit. And from that led to, you know, smoking, drinking at a young age, smoking weed, cigarettes, and just hanging out with the wrong people was pretty much my childhood. You know, it was super, super messy for years as well. That goes from, you know, not finishing school, going into a tradie job, living for the weekend, partying, using drugs, just living like a degenerate, you know. And but I feel like I don't regret that, you know, because I would rather get that over with when you're younger than have the perfect childhood, finish school, go to uni, and then you get into it. In my opinion, that's what I think. I'm happy that I did it younger. I got it out of the way, and then stopped when I was like 20, but that's a bit further on in the story. So yeah, left school, got a job as a carpenter, a tradie, and man, I hated that. I only lasted like 6 months. I remember getting home from work one day and just sitting in the kitchen bench, and my dad was there, and I just went and like put my head in my hands, and my dad was like, "What's wrong?" And I was just like, "Man, like, is this it? Like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. Like, what am I doing?" I hated it. Waking up 5 in the morning, going to work with a bunch of older guys. When I was like 17, you know, it just wasn't, I just didn't like it. I was like, didn't finish school. I was like, how am I going to do this for the rest of my life? Like, this isn't it. Like, I hate it. And my dad's like, "Why don't you move?" And I'm like, I looked at him like, "What do you mean move? Where am I going to move to?" He's like, "I don't know, why don't you go back to Cairns where you were born?" And I'm like, "Why would I do that? Like, that's stupid." And then I went to bed that night, I remember, and it was just playing on my mind. And like a week passed, and I just couldn't get that thought out of my head. It's like, if I left here, like just a fresh start, not knowing anyone there, a whole new place, I could be a whole new person. Another week passed, and I'm just like, I convinced myself eventually that I'm gonna do it. And I said to my dad, I was like, "Remember when you said you suggested that I should move back to Cairns?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I'm gonna do it." Packed all my stuff, quit my job, and just left. That's it. Not knowing a single person, not having a job lined up, nothing. I just left and just moved into this share house, not knowing anyone at 17. And it was scary. It was the scariest thing. And I remember it so clearly, getting out of that taxi from the airport and walking into that share house where there's like adults in there, and I'm this 17-year-old kid that's never lived out of home before, and I'm straight into sharing a house with like 3 other people. And I lied about my age to these people. Like, I was so scared. The first like 2 months of living there, I didn't even leave my room because I was just so nervous. I didn't have any confidence, no people skills, you know. But that's what that taught me, you know. It put me in that situation, you know, over time, after being there for a couple months, that I got more comfortable with the people, and then ended up doing stuff with them and became friends. And then having new housemates that moved in, like, it's just like it built my confidence being there, which was awesome. And, you know, because it was such a big move, at such a young age, it was just so impactful on me, and you know, it taught me a lot of people skills, like that, for example, the confidence thing. And I lived in Cairns for 2 years. You know, it was the best decision of my life moving there. Like, it changed me as a person for the better. And I just had so many great experiences there and met such amazing people. And come COVID, and because Cairns is such a small town, there's a lot of backpackers there. So the economy is like run by backpackers, like work there. It's the traveling in the backpacker scene in Cairns is huge. And yeah, COVID came and it absolutely killed it. All my housemates were backpackers, and COVID, it destroyed them. They all had to go back to their countries, and it left Cairns like a ghost town. And I lost my job because of it, and you know, it put me in that same position I was in going back to when I had my tradie job, lost, not knowing what to do. Like, I've just had the best 2 years of my life, and now it's being taken away from me, and I was just back at square one, and I was like, what do I do? So I made the decision to go back to Melbourne, because I had no other choice. COVID came and I was running out of money, and yeah, I moved back to Melbourne. Worked at my family restaurant, and the first week was good, you know, because it was change. Change is always good, but after that first week, it started to kick in again, and I started to feel the same way I felt when I first wanted to get out of there, you know, and it was just depressing, man. I remember I came home from work one night, I just laid in the bed, and I was just like, what am I doing with my life? Like, this sucks. So I was like, how can I get myself out of this situation? I reached out to the only person that I knew in Cairns, and I was like, man, like, I'm struggling, dude. Like, I can't do this here in Melbourne, man. I hate my life. Like, let's do something, anything. And he's like, sure. And we ended up making this decision together that we'll just rent a van in Cairns, and we'll just spend 2-3 weeks driving down the east coast, and we'll move to Brisbane, you know, just for something fun to do and experience and adventure. And we did that. We spent that 3 weeks driving down the east coast and had the best time ever, you know, like nothing to worry about. When you're in a van, the only thing you have to worry about is where you're going to wake up and what the next meal you're going to eat is going to be. So that experience really helped me as well get out of the dark position I was in when I was back in Melbourne. And yeah, and then we moved to Brisbane. Completely random, never been there before, but just wanted, you know, experiences. And then I moved to a hostel, and I lived in a hostel for 2.5 months while working full time at this bar job. So I was just partying, like hanging with backpackers for 2.5 months, saving money from this job. And then I ended up getting my own place in Brisbane with this girl that I worked with. And then she had to go back to England where she was from, and then this guy moved in that I hated. We didn't get along. He was loud at night. He stunk. He made the fucking house reek, and we just didn't get along. And I had a 6-month lease there. I'm like, nah, like, I can't do this. Got fired from my job. Started smoking again. And then I was back at square one. My friend at the time that I moved to Brisbane with got a girlfriend, so we were barely hanging out. And I was just lost again, back to my old habits, old addictions. I was gaming heaps, smoking weed. And this is when I started training, but it wasn't consistent. You know, I just started getting into training, but more or so forcing myself to go and not really loving it. And then, yeah, back at square one of what do I do now? Like, Melbourne, don't want to go home, can't go to Cairns. Okay, my grandma lives in Gold Coast. I love the beach. Whatever, I'll move to Gold Coast. I'll go live with my grandma's. I'll find a job there, live the beach life for a bit. Bang, moved to Gold Coast, moved in with my grandma in her spare room. And this is where it all started, because the beach and the gym, it's such a perfect combination. And I started training consistently. I cleaned myself up. I stopped smoking, got back into the right headspace, right mindset, got a good job at a bar with great people. And yeah, this is where the spark for fitness in me just took over, and I was just all in. Like, I loved it so much that when I first started training, I made a TikTok account because I loved this so much, and I was just like, I need to make this my life. Like, if I can find a way to make my life around fitness, I will be the happiest person in the world. And I started posting on TikTok. And I was just posting gym videos, motivational quotes, motivational videos, funny videos, everything gym related. And I did it so consistently. For 2 years straight, I accumulated over 1,000 videos and around, I think, 400 million views on my TikTok account and 150,000 followers. And I didn't make a single dollar out of it. I just loved it, and I loved the gym, and I loved making content. And I was working my bar job while I was doing all this just as a hobby because I loved it. And I knew one day if I build up my following on TikTok, you know, like I learned marketing from making my own videos, and I'll build a personal brand. But I never did this for the money. I always did this because I had a passion and a love for fitness. And yeah, 2 years passed, 153,000 followers on TikTok, not a single dollar made, but every minute was enjoyed. Like I loved every minute of it. And I remember I got my first ever brand deal. What company was it? It was I don't know the name, but they paid me like $150 to post a photo wearing their shirt, and like that was the day I felt like I made it. Like that feeling was awesome. And I also remember that some company reached out to me and wanted to interview me, and they paid me for an interview, and I still have the recording of this day on my phone, like a year and a half ago, of them interviewing me, and that was the most fulfilling feeling because this 2 years of grinding has paid off. And yeah, and then after that, just some stuff happened in my life, and then went for a holiday to Cairns, and I stayed in a hostel to meet some friends. And I remember that trip was the sort of trip that my anxiety started. Like I've never had anxiety in my whole entire life. I was always outgoing, confident, happy, but I never had any anxiety or any self-doubt. And that trip, I remember I was laying in the bed one day, and this thought came over me, and I got this feeling in my stomach, and I just needed to like lay in bed, and I just lied there, and I didn't want anyone around me. I didn't want to see anyone. And like it was weird because I never felt this way about anything before. And like I just felt like I was gonna die. Like it sounds strange, but I called my mum, and I was telling her how I was feeling and what was happening, and it just didn't feel right. And then yeah, that whole trip I was just on edge about nothing, just in my own mind. And then I got home, and I remember I got home from this trip, and my work was closed for like 2 weeks, and I didn't know anyone in Gold Coast at the time, so I was like all alone. I didn't have any friends really, so I was just all by myself. And this next 2-3 weeks was like mentally the hardest thing I've ever been through in my life. Like my anxiety was, I couldn't sleep at night. I'd stay up until like 4 or 5 in the morning. I'd have to listen to like these like nature sounds to go to sleep, and then I'd go to sleep and I'd have nightmares, and I'd wake up, nightmares, wake up, nightmares, and it was so bad. And like I remember one night I was just playing Xbox because I couldn't sleep, and I met this guy on Xbox, and I remember I was just sitting in the lounge room like with my headphones on, and in my head I'm like I was playing Xbox all night with this guy, and I'm like I wanted him to stay on because it was helping me mentally, because I know when I put my head on that pillow and close my eyes, I'm gonna have horrible nightmares. I'm gonna wake up and just it was the worst. And it got so bad that one night, like I convinced myself that I was having a heart attack, and I got up and I collapsed on the bathroom floor, dude. And like I was like pale, and I had to call the ambulance because like I thought I was dying. I thought I was having a heart attack, and I called the ambulance, and the paramedics came, and they took me to the hospital. And that was like, man, I thought I was like I never thought it was like, I thought I was gonna be like that forever, you know. And for anyone that's been through something like that, I'm sure you can relate to this, when it's like I was convinced that I was gonna permanently be like this. Like I was never not gonna have anxiety, you know. And that was just the lowest point of my life, because you know when you can't control your own mind, you're fucked, man, you know. And I guess from then it was just like I got out of the hospital, went back to my grandma's for a bit, and slept at hers for like 3-4 nights, just because I didn't want to be alone in my apartment, just because I couldn't be alone. Being alone was like, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. And yeah, that was a struggle, man, for the next 3-6 months dealing with this stuff. Like I couldn't have caffeine. I'd go to the gym, I'd feel my heart racing, and I'd get scared. Like I felt like I was gonna have a heart attack. And I guess just over time it sort of went away, which is weird because at the time I never thought it would go away. For anyone that deals with anxiety or knows anything about it, you know, but yeah, you know, everything heals with time, and it took time to get over it. But you know, if I didn't go through that, then I don't think I would be who I am today. So yeah, everything happens for a reason is what I believe, and that gave me some of the personality traits that I have now. That was tough. And then yeah, I mean, and it had such a big impact on making content on my social media, because like I'd be in my own head thinking, like I'd film a bit of content, I'd be like, oh, people think I sound funny, people think I look funny, like I look gross, like I sound weird, and I was just second guessing myself every single decision I made. So that had such a huge impact on making content and posting on Instagram. And that sucks because it's the only thing that I wanted to do, and it's the only vision I had was Instagram content, and this thing just tore it down so much. But you know, like going back to what I said, everything heals with time. It was only a matter of time and training my mind to slowly get out of that. And I mean, I don't have any anxiety now, which is crazy, but that's just goes to show that everything heals with time. But yeah, and that's pretty much my story. And then I got into fitness coaching and I just fell in love with it. I love the feeling. Like there's nothing more fulfilling than getting someone results, change. Like some people have told me I've changed their lives. Like that's crazy to hear, you know. And it's just, I fell in love with the process of it. And you know, it's how I run a successful coaching business, is because I love it so much and I'm addicted to it. Like I wake up in the morning, I go and train, and on my walk home, I'm excited to sit at my desk so I can do work. Like it's crazy. If you told this guy 5 years ago what he'd be doing now, he'd be in tears. He'd be so happy. So yeah, but you know, sometimes you really got to appreciate the present with anything. A lot of people set goals and they get to the goals, but they don't actually appreciate where they are, you know. And that's something that I'm super, super grateful for, is where I am and the people I have around me and the people I get to coach online, because yeah, it makes me so happy and fulfilled. So that's my story, and I hope you guys could get something out of it or enjoyed it. And if you did make it this far, send me the tick emoji, the green tick emoji on Instagram, so I know you actually listened to it and made it this far. So have a great day, and thank you so much for tuning in. 8 hours a day, I'm going to be focusing on this shit more, even with my real job. So I have 2 goals at the moment, 2 life goals that I want to achieve. One of them being, I can't wait to stop working in hospitality and take fitness full time, whether it's sponsorships or personal training or just anything fitness related. I'm just so done with any other jobs, you know. I want to make this my life, you know. I want everything I do to be fitness related for 2022, the end of 2022. And yeah, I just wanted to record this so I can document it, look back on it, and say that I really did chase my fucking dreams, man. Like this shit is like surreal. Like, and it's slowly happening. I can see it, I can taste it, I can feel it happening to me, that I'm gonna be taking this shit really seriously. I can feel it. Every sign I'm getting is telling me, don't give up, continue with it, you're gonna make it. So just wanted to document that here.